Hey y'all, I decided to record this horribly depressing story time. I woke up in my feelings and I figured like I might as well get it out. I've been neglecting to record this one because I don't want to be really sad, but here goes. You might as well have knocked the wind out of me and then told me to breathe. You should have given me the gun and knocked me to my knees and let me watch my soul bleed. Sitting here as I watch my world crumble into a million pieces, my heart races. The thoughts I can't stand, my breath shortens. My glands swell from the many tears I've cried on the nights I thought I would die. Thinking about you and how the pain would never go away. God took you from me and left me here to stay. I'm mad, I'm hurt, I'm pissed, and I'm torn. Some say there is no fury like a woman scorned. But what about my pain? What about my fury? What about the mental hell I go through each day? I never wanted her to leave. Selfishly, I screamed stay. Crushed, broken, torn. Still thinking about the horrible day she was taken. Okay, if you remember a few story times back, I talked about college chronicles and how I lost my grandmother. Well, told you how I couldn't stay in class. I would leave and go out and sit in the hallway and just cry my eyes out, which is why, excuse me, I failed so many classes and ended up getting booted out of Ball State because I couldn't keep my grades up. So I had to write letters to come back into school. And I have one of them here with me. Specifically, this is the one about my grandmother. And I want to walk you all through what I experienced. So that's why I'm reading it. I'll just read the parts about her. I lost my grandmother, my mother's mother. We were more than extremely close. I lived around the corner from her. Okay, so picture this is my house. Okay, you go down the street and then you turn left. Her house is right here. I don't know how else to explain how close we were, other than the physical, emotional, spiritual, and anything else you could think of. She passed away on June 10th, 2010. She wasn't sick or anything. My grandmother could outrun me. She really wasn't one of those grandmothers that was a grandma that just sat in a chair, rocking back and forth. Oh, baby, let me bake you some cookies. Like, no, she was... Get your butt down. Sit down somewhere. Yeah, have a seat. Okay? Thanks. Yeah. What happened was she had pneumonia, and we didn't know that. She went back and forth to the doctors, and they checked everything on her body except her lungs. I remember I would be in school. Remember this one time I was getting a sub sandwich out of Neuer, one of the dorms, and I called her and I'm like, hey grandma, just calling to check on you. You okay? And she's just like, they said they're gonna check my heart and I'm really scared because I hope it isn't anything with my heart. And I'm like, oh grandma, you'll be fine. You're usually scared of nothing, but I'm like, you'll be fine. And she was like, yeah. I was like, well, you know I'm praying for you and I love you. So even she didn't know she had pneumonia. They should have been checking her lungs because she told them that she started experiencing shortness of breath and her fingertips and around her eyes had darkened up, which is a huge indicator of lack of oxygen. I came home for a weekend just to visit, and my grandmother was tired. She was out of breath from walking from her room to the bathroom, which is like literally maybe 10 steps away. And I remember I was sitting there in the chair next to her bed. She just had me read some Bible scriptures to her. And I was sitting there and I'm texting on my phone and she makes this joke. My mom's in the kitchen. She makes this joke. Is it raining? Because you know how you have the keypad tones. And it was like click, 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 click. And I was like, no, it's my phone. She said, dog, Brittany. And then we were sitting there watching Steve Harvey. And she just kind of looked out the door like this. And I looked at her. I'm like, nah. Because you know, some people say, like, people give the death stare. I looked, I'm like, nah. And she turned over to me. She said, Brittany, make sure you're always there for your mom, no matter what. Just like she was always there for me. I said, okay, Grandma. Okay. And then I went back to my phone. A few minutes later, she started crying, which I never seen my grandmother do except for when her brothers passed away. Which was a year before her. I said, Grandma, what's wrong? She said, I've never been sick this long. I'm tired. I said, okay, I'm going to get Mommy because I didn't know what else to do. So I ran in the kitchen and I grabbed my mom and she's like, what's wrong, baby? I said, Grandma's crying. She dropped everything in the sink. She was washing the dishes. She came in there. She said, Mommy, what's wrong? Sorry. She said, Mommy, what's wrong? She said, I've just never been sick this long. And my mama just hugged her. She played her some gospel music and told her that it would be okay. My grandma didn't know I was going back to school that same day, in which I didn't have a choice but to go back because that was my right. But I didn't know that I was going back that same day either. It was an emergency. We had to go back. My friend had left her homework at school. She had to turn it in the next day, so we had to hurry to go. And I kissed my grandmother as if I was going back to my house, to my mom's house. And I was just like, I love you, Grandma. See you later. She said, I love you too. And I called my mom as soon as I got back in Muncie, at Ball State, to let her know that I made it safely. And I asked for my grandma, and she said, we're on the way to the hospital. I said, Mommy, why? She said, she's okay, don't worry, just pray. She's going to get another checkup. I said, okay. I knew better. I started crying because I should have never left. Should have just stayed there. A few hours later, my sister called me saying, Brittany, pray. Grandma has been put into the ICU. And I flipped out. I left out of my friend's house. I started walking all over the campus, just crying and walking. It was like at midnight. And I was calling my boyfriend at the time, my college boyfriend, Aaron, that I told y'all about. And he was answering the phone, and I just started walking. And he stayed like miles away from the campus. And he finally answered, and I'm like, baby, my grandma's in ICU. I don't know what to do. I can't do this. Can you please come and get me? And he's like, I don't have a way. He didn't have a car. The buses weren't running. This was on, I think, a Sunday. The buses weren't running or anything. So he said he was going to meet me. So he got up and walked from his apartment all the way to campus just to come get me. But I couldn't stop walking, so I kept walking too. He actually ran to campus for me. And then it was a thunderstorm. And he met me at the library. So actually I didn't have far to walk. I was just still on campus, and he ran track. So yeah. We got back to his house, and I took a shower, and I was fighting thoughts of her passing because I knew that there was no possibility of that. She was fine. But the devil kept being in my head, or maybe my body just knew. So I went to sleep the best I could after I said a prayer. My sister called me at 6 a.m. crying and told me that my grandmother isn't passing any fluids and that that's not a good sign and that she's coming to get me. She lives in Indianapolis. I had like 2 hours to get ready before my brother-in-law came to get me. We all went home and I was strong, but the look on my mom's face was hard to see. It was like she was trying to be strong, but it was like, you know how you say laughing out loud but very serious, that you seriously like, that's how it was. It was like my mom was like, we went to the hospital and I saw my grandmother unresponsive because they sedated her and put like the tube in her mouth. Yeah, my mom said they had to intubate her before they sedated her. I told my grandmother that I loved her and all my family came, but none of us thought that she would ever leave. I went back to the hospital room with my sister and my cousin when they were strong enough to see her with tubes in her mouth. I saw a machine beeping, and I knew something was wrong looking at her machines because her blood pressure was 58/18. I didn't panic, but I brought a nurse in, and she acted normal with a worried look on her face. I'm like, something's not right with these machines. I'm like, excuse me, can you go check on my grandmother? They took their merry freaking little time, and they walked in the room and said, oh, it's just normal because of blah, 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 blah. If I can just, I'm like, I'm going to get my mama. So I left, and then my sister and my cousin Dougie, they stayed in there. So I left out because I went to go tell my granddaddy what happened. And just as I made it down the hall, my sister runs after me and told me that the nurses kicked them out of the room and all the doctors were running back there saying something about her heart. Although I am the baby, at that time I was forced to be the strongest. I had to pick up my family when their faith dwindled, so God used me just in time. My grandmother was coding before it happened, and I told my mom she was sick to her stomach at the thought of losing her mom. Like, she was literally crying. She was standing with her friend, and I told her what happened. And at that moment, she just began to almost throw up. And I told my granddaddy, he's just going through his wallet, trying to find, I think, a number to his mom's pastor or something. He's just like pulling papers out. He's like, I can't deal with this. Not Bernice. No, not Bernice. Not Bernice. Who's gonna yell at me? Who's gonna take care of me? And I'm just like, I'll take care of you, granddaddy. I'm holding his face. I'm like, it's gonna be okay. And I'll yell at you. I'm like, God won't do that to us. He just won't. So I was wrong. Try and make the story short. I went home that night with my dad because he had to work. And I had to watch my nephew because kids couldn't stay overnight in the hospital. Or they didn't want my nephew to stay anyway. So my mom asked me to. I did not want to leave, and my mom said, can you please go watch your nephew? So out of respect for my grandmother and what she had previously asked, I agreed. I didn't go into the room to say goodbye because I was scared that I would see that something else was wrong. So I just blew a kiss to her through the ICU doors. And I should have went back. I left, and it was about 2 a.m. I was outside with my very first boyfriend, Andre Dane. He came to see me. He knew what was going on. I just sat in the car and told him everything that was happening that day. And my dad calls me, and he's like, where are you? Where are you? I'm like, I'm outside. I'm in front in the car with Andre. And he's just like, I need you to come in the house now. And I'm like, why? He said, they called Code Blue. So at that moment, I just went, in the car. Andre told me it would be okay, and I walked in the house. So my dad flew out of there like a bat out of hell, and I waited by the phone, and nobody called me. I was praying, and then I was on the phone with this girl, and I was praying. She was praying, and I literally felt my grandmother come in the room with me. because I was just in the prayer, and I looked up like this, and it was just this amber glow. Like you couldn't see it with your eyes, but you could see it with your spirit. And I just saw it sitting right here. And she said, I looked, I said, Grandma? And she said, I'm leaving, and I love you. I felt that in my soul and in my heart, and I knew it was her. I thought that it would be faithless of me to listen and say my goodbyes. But I knew at that moment. And I said, no, you get back in your body. You get back in your body right now. Don't you leave me. And she floated away. I said amen to the rest of the prayer, and I got off the phone with her. And I picked up the phone. And I called my uncle's wife at the time. And I said, well, tell me what's going on. She said, she's gone. She's gone. There's nothing left. And at that moment, I couldn't take it. I screamed and I cried so hard that would bring her back. My nephew was in the room asleep, so I couldn't wake him up, so I ran outside. And I just looked up, and all I heard was birds chirping, and the stars out, and I said, there cannot be life on this earth without her. So at that moment, I started hyperventilating. And I said, if I keep breathing this way, I'm gonna die. And I said, fuck it, I don't care. Sorry for the language. I was like, I don't care. If it means that I get to be with her, I'll do it. So I just felt myself going, and I started to not breathe. And I just said, keep it going, Brittany, keep it going. At least you'll be with her. And just then my nephew, he stood at the front door out of his sleep and he said, Auntie, are you okay? And I said, I'm okay, baby. I just have cramps. I'm coming back in the house. He said, okay. I said, go lay down. If it wasn't for him, I would have been gone. And I looked and I said, I cannot do that to him. That's so selfish. And I said, I cannot do that to my mom either. So I went back in the house and I called my boyfriend, Aaron, and I prayed she would rise from the dead. Of course, that didn't happen. So my dad came home at 6 a.m. without my mom or my sister. And I was just done because I knew if they came back home, what they would mean. So I went to my grandmother's house. Everybody was just laid across her bed, smelling her clothes, smelling her sheets. And I just knew that life was over. I'm so sorry. This is like so hard for me. And I tried so hard to be okay. This was 5 years ago. That's the story. And it literally happened days, like ICU, we visit her, gone. I never got to say goodbye. I never got to say goodbye. So, I remember my grandma told me when I got to college, I called her and said, Grandma, college is just so hard. I don't want to do this. And she said, baby, do what you can and get all you can get. And if don't nothing happen to me, I'll be at your graduation. My grandmother was never scared to die. I said, okay. Something did happen to her. But I made sure that she would be at my graduation. This is the last picture that we ever took together. And I put it on my cap. So when I graduated, she was there. I also recorded our very last holiday together, which was no, that wasn't the last holiday. Our last holiday together was Easter, but I recorded our last Christmas together. Obviously, I didn't know that that was our last Christmas. I will link that video below so that you guys can see her personality. I'll also link the video that we played at her wake below. It's pretty awesome. It's just a slideshow of pictures. So anyways, then we had our wake that Wednesday night, and I just hovered over her. I kissed her forehead and blew my breath on her, trying to make her warm because she was so cold. And I just laid there and I cried and cried until my head hurt. And I sang a song. I sang "You Are So Beautiful" because I called my grandmother beautiful. The day of the funeral was terrible. And as I closed the casket, I knew that was the last time I'd see her, so I'm like trying to catch the last glimpse before they closed it. We went to the cemetery. It was hot as heck, and balloons just started popping, and we was like, that's grandma, because we took too long to get to the cemetery. As I threw that last rose in there, I said goodbye. Felt like her spirit was there, but not her. Also, before the wake, we went to the funeral parlor, and I had this thing with my grandma that I would always polish her nails and her feet, and so her toes. So I already had her stockings on, so I couldn't polish her toes, but I polished her nails for her in the funeral parlor. And I massaged her feet. I used to massage her feet. As eerie as that sounds, guys, that was the most important time to me. And we all like literally sat in there, me, my aunts, and my mom. We literally just sat in there and smiled and laughed and everything. I think my sister was there too. But it was a time of peace. It didn't feel like we were with a dead person. That's the only person I'll probably do that for, other than my mom. Lord forbid anything happened to her. But yeah, that was a nice time, and I could have spent the night. And I remember they left out of the room, and I said, can I have a moment with my grandmother? She had a tattoo of a strawberry right here, and I drew it on a napkin. And I kissed her before I left, and I ended up getting that myself. Excuse my belly, but yeah, I ended up getting it. Strawberry, and then it says "Beautiful Bernice" under it. And this video just turned upside down, but yeah. So, sorry guys. That's my story. Sorry if I made you cry. I love you guys. And please pray for my family. Even though it was years ago, it's still very fresh. And to everybody that's lost somebody, I'm sorry. All right, guys, I gotta go now. I need to be happy.